The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you all for joining today's session. Today we're going to focus on one of our most beneficial and interesting applications, LINKPlanner. And with that, we have the pleasure of having Dave Hensley with us, who's an expert on the application. And we'll talk a little bit about the hidden gems and how to use it to help you sell into various different situations. So with that, over to you, Dave.
Hello. Oh boy, where to start? No, I'm just kidding. First thing we're going to talk about is Cambium Network's forum. So many of you might have a particular problem with LINKPlanner or a suggestion on how to make LINKPlanner better. And I just wanted to let you know about the forum. Many of you already know about it. It's right here. You just go to cambiumnetworks.com, left click on the community, and then if you want to say something to the LINKPlanner team, you just follow the links down under planning and management, and that's where all of our posts are. Now, why is this useful? Why do we do this? The reason why we do this is if somebody has a problem, the chances are that they're not the only one who has the problem. So the first thing you should do, if you're having a hard time trying to figure something out, you need to go to the forum here and then use the search option. And it takes a while. You've got to figure out the right keywords to find your particular issue, and it may not be up there, but oftentimes it is. And this is a beautiful thing because you can learn what other people have been learning and hopefully solve your problem there. Now, there are circumstances where you have a particularly, you have a problem that you don't want to let everyone else know that you have. And so you're not going to post something on the forum and ask the question to the whole wide world. And you might not be able to find it on the forum. The other avenue we have for you is you can use the forum to send a private message if you know who to send it to. But the best way to do it is just to fire up LINKPlanner and go to the help about, and if you send an email to linkplanner.ptp@cambiumnetworks.com, there's a team of people who read those emails, and we respond to those. So if you're having a question, you don't want everyone else to know that you're having an issue or whatever, you can send an email to that address, and we'll get right back to you. The assumption on this webinar is that you are familiar with LINKPlanner, you know the ins and outs, you've been using it a while, and what you want to know is how do I save time? So that's what I'm going to talk about today, is how to save time using LINKPlanner. First thing we're going to talk about is importing sites. That is under File, Import, and then we can import the two different types of sites, either network or subscriber sites. Now, a little background. Why would you do this? If you're trying to respond to a request for proposals, typically what happens is the RFP will have a list of sites, and you'll have latitude, longitude, site name, and then you might have antenna heights. And you don't want to have to sit there and key in all 100 sites. You don't want to have to tippity type the names in. What you want to do is put those into a spreadsheet and then quickly get them into LINKPlanner. So that's what I've done. And let me just show you how to do that. The first thing I'm going to do is show you how to import the network sites. Now, another way you can do this is sometimes customers will give you a Google Earth file that'll be in KMZ or KML format. And you can do that as well. Typically, though, you're going to be getting it in spreadsheet form. So the first thing you need to do is notice that it says network sites from CSV. So if you've got a nifty little Excel spreadsheet, you're going to have to save that as a comma-separated values file. And let's see. Now I've got to find one. Here we go. So you can see I've done that. I've got network sites in a CSV format and subscriber site. Let's do network sites first. So what it does is ask you to select your data limiter. It doesn't, you don't have to use a comma. You can use a tab or semicolon, but the most common format we think is comma. And then there's a whole bunch of different encoding schemes you can use. You're not going to tick this box here, the subscriber sites, because these are network sites. Then you hit the next button. Notice that it is going to skip the first row here. I mean, I can do that. I can have it look at the first row, but then it's going to complain. Then what you'll do, if it doesn't recognize, I mean, there's a lot of smarts built into this, so it will recognize that, hey, that's the name, this is latitude, longitude, and then maximum height. Now notice it says maximum height in meters, so I'm going to want to change that to maximum height in feet. And all you're doing here is naming the columns. Then you hit the next button, and it'll preview the map. So if you know what the sites look like on a map, you can say, oh, yeah, that looks right. If it doesn't look right, then you got to go back and fix something. And there are our sites. And you can go to Google Maps and see that, oh, okay, yeah, that looks about right. Let's go back to the offline map. Let's import some subscriber sites. And the process is similar. Only this time I'm going to check the subscriber sites box. And you can see I've got latitude, longitude. It says maximum height in feet here, but let me just double check that. Oh no, it's gone back to meters, so I'm going to check the feet. And those look right. The next button, and yeah, I got a lot of subscriber sites here. And there I have imported sites from a comma-separated value file. That is incredibly handy, we think. The next tool that I want to show you how to save some time on is called Best Server Analysis. And what this does, oops, let me go back to the map. What this does is help me set up PMP, so this is point-to-multipoint links. And it helps me choose the best server. Well, what does that mean? What I need to do is choose the best access point. So I'm a subscriber unit, and I'm saying, hey, world, which access point can serve me the best? Which access point is the best for me? And the criteria we use is the highest received signal level. That's the criteria. And there's some other intelligence behind this, but that's the idea behind best server analysis. So when I finish this, I hope all of these subscriber sites will be connected to these access points sites or hub sites. Now, the first thing I need to do is decide what, well, the first thing I need to do is set up some hub sites. So let's do that real quick. So under project, I'll select new hub. Now this is going to let me select one or more hubs here. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to just make them all hub sites. And then I've got to be careful here. I want my subscriber module range to be 2 miles. 4 access points per hub. Yes, all this is good. Starting azimuth 0 degrees. So I'm going to let that work a little bit. And I'll know I'm done when I see some hubs under here. Okay, now LINKPlanner, I know it's working under the hood. It says not responding, but it is working. There we go. So you can see now I have some access points. Let me just check airport. Yep, there we go. So here I've got some access points. And what I've done here, see, why did this show up as 450i? Well, let me tell you. Here's another feature you can use to help you save some time. What you do, and I'm going to digress just for a little bit. We're still working on best server analysis, but let me digress to PMP equipment template. So what I have here is called PMP equipment template. Oh, I don't have any templates. Well, this is the default. It's 450i. What I can do, if I want those to be something different, is create a new template. And this is where I would create a default, if you will, PMP link. So these are the products I can choose for 5.8, and the rest is just standard LINKPlanner stuff. You choose the band, then the product, country code, all that kind of thing. let's make ours 5 megahertz subscriber module. Here's where I can vary the subscriber modules. So whenever it creates a new link, this is what it'll use. And then what I do is X out of there, and you can see it saved it here. Now, let me show you something. Let me edit this. Let me be a little bit more specific. I'm going to call this 5.8 gigahertz PMP 450i with a 5 megahertz channel bandwidth and PMP 450B high gain. You know what? I got to say high gain. There we go. And then it'll save that as my equipment template. Now, any new PMP link that I create will use these characteristics. So that saves you a lot of time. Otherwise, what you'll do is you'll create a link and you'll look at it and say, oh man, it's not the product I wanted. You'll have to go in and edit each one individually. That's painful. So we're trying to save you some time there. All right, let's go back to best server analysis. Back to best server analysis. PMP. The way I would do that is add a few ePMP access points to some of these hub sites. Not going to do that right now. I give it a, I tell it the minimum modulation mode that I want to support. So I tell you what, let's just peg the fun meter here, and let's say I want all my subscribers to be have the highest modulation mode. Now, just so you understand, that's unrealistic. So everybody's on the same page. This is unrealistic. I'm gonna show you how the best server you can change some of the parameters. Furthermore, I'm gonna give it a 20 dB fade margin and antenna heights of 33 feet. That sounds reasonable. Now, this you can select a bunch of different subscriber modules, and you can prioritize which ones you want to be considered first. So this is handy if you only have a limited number of subscriber module types, or if you want to have a mix or something like that, or you know, you have existing subscribers. We're doing this greenfield, but I'm going to show you in a little while how to do this with an existing setup when you need to add some subscriber modules. So let's just run this. Go ahead, and there are no connected places, but you just leave that alone. Let's hit go. Now, what is it doing right now? It's churning, hopefully not burning, and it is going off and testing all of the access points. For each subscriber, it's testing all of the access points, looking at the profiles, and it's determining which one will give, or which AP will give the highest power at each individual subscriber module location. And I have been incredibly unrealistic here. And you can see that, first of all, red is bad as a general rule. And you can see, oh, this really hasn't worked very well. What are you doing? But a few of them have connected. Okay, you can see T1 and T4 have connected. So I'll tell you what, let's be a little bit more realistic. Let's be a little bit more generous. Let's drop it down to QPSK. Let's leave it at 20 dB and do the analysis again. And we'll wait patiently while it's going through this. Now you can see that I've connected a lot of these subscriber modules. There's still some red, so let's get rid of that red. Let's drop this down to say 3 dB fade margin. And what you do is you continue to do this. You continue to change these two parameters. Maybe antenna height you would want to change until you get something you like. Now, eventually, you're going to run into a situation where you just can't make it any better, and you're going to have to tweak these individual sites or go to those sites and understand, you know, why are these so difficult? Why aren't they connected? In the meantime, you should understand that in LINKPlanner, almost all the tables can be sorted. So I can sort by fade margin. So these are my highest fade margin links right here. I can sort by antenna gain. That's not terribly meaningful. I can sort by a lot of these things. I can sort by name. That's very handy. Okay, site name if I need to find a particular site. All right, so just know that you can save a lot of time by by left-clicking on those columns, and that will help you sort. So once we're happy with something, we hit this create, and what that does is actually create the access point to subscriber module links. And a few more words before I do that. Sometimes there's some confusion about this, the reasons given in here. Like you'll see this NMR. Do we have any others that are not NMR? I mean, AP1 is here, that's fine. NMR means not meeting requirements. Another one you might get is OOR, which means out of range. So the key is to look over here. This will tell you how many subscribers you have, how many are connected. Now, I haven't hit that create button yet, so none of them are connected. 71 are able to connect. So that tells me I've got 10 that are either out of range or not meeting the requirements. So let's create those links. This takes a while as well. And down here, you can see where it's doing a processing rule down here. So sometimes if you're getting impatient, waiting for a link planner, look down here and see if it's blank. If it's blank, chances are you can move on. So let's see what happened. Oh, this is exciting. Okay, here we go. Now you can see these little blue lines here. Those are the PMP links that we have created. And it looks reasonable, more or less. And the next step is to go in and take a look at some of those sites that didn't get connected. Like, why didn't that one get connected? Why didn't that one get connected? So what you're going to do, it's somewhat counterintuitive. I mean, a rule that I had heard long ago is when you're dealing with co-location, you always want to start with your most difficult link first. And in this case, what we do is we start out with the easy ones first, and then you focus some more time on these more difficult links. Now, why are those connecting? You're going to have to go in and see. Maybe build a link, set up a PMP link, and then take a look at the profile. Maybe it's not line of sight. Maybe there's something in the way. Maybe it's too far. Maybe we couldn't get the fade margin. Maybe what we need to do is, instead of having a 3 dB fade margin, let's put in a 0 dB fade margin. Okay? Now, this time I'm going to omit the connected places and hit go. And it should just test the ones that aren't connected. I've changed it to a 0 dB fade margin to see if I can get any more sites connected. No, that didn't really help. So I'm going to leave that alone. So anyway, you're going to go back and forth. And this is a quick way to get your subscriber modules connected very quickly. Quick way to do quickly. That's a good one. All right. We covered equipment templates. We also have equipment templates for PTP links. Let me just show you how that works. Every time you connect the dots, connect point A to point B, you're going to use this template. And again, it's just like what you do is you build up a link in LINKPlanner. So let's say you want a licensed microwave link. You want an S link. Let's make it FCC. Let's make it, you've got all the options that you would normally have in LINKPlanner. And every time you create a link, it will build the link with these attributes. And so this is great because if you want to standardize antennas across your network, this is the way to do this early on. So we've covered equipment templates. Again, you can have numerous templates. What you do, if you've got a set of templates, what you do is there should be a button here which says set as default. So if you have more than one, this will open up and you can set a particular template as the default. And then every time you build a link, or create a link, it will use this template. So this should save you tons of time. Next thing that will save you tons of time is just left-clicking on either PMP links or PTP links. And what happens here? What happens here is you get a table. And let's just start out with the hubs. This is a table of all the hub sites. And you can sort here. Not terribly interesting, except you could show which one is your highest. So this one is our tallest hub site. This information is, it's interesting, but not terribly interesting. what else could I tell you about the hubs? Well, what I'm going to do now is right-click when my mouse is up here. And what this will do is it'll allow me to add additional information. Now, for hubs, there is no additional information. We're showing everything here. So let me go to the next one. Access points. This is where it gets interesting. What if I wanted to change? I mean, look, I kind of made a mistake here. I don't think I would have 40 megahertz channel bandwidth available for this entire network. So what do I want to do? I want to change that to 5. So I'm going to left-click on the top one up here, go down here, and then select all of this. And what I've done is shift-click there. So let me start over. So I'm going to start here, and I don't have to do the whole thing. I can do just a few. Shift and then left-click, and that selects multiple items. So I'm going to go select all of them, and then I'm going to right-click. And the option that I like here is Edit Bandwidth. So I'm going to left-click on that, and then, oh, look at that, I've got a pull-down menu. So I can change the channel bandwidth for all of these point-to-multipoint links. Actually, it's all of these access points to 5 megahertz, just like that. And then, again, watch down here. That means it's LINKPlanner is working and not quite finished. So this is incredibly powerful. If I need to do what-if scenarios very quickly, I can change the channel bandwidth for the entire network or just portions of the network very quickly. I don't have to go in and edit each individual point-to-multipoint link. What else is interesting here? Well, the usual. What else can I look at? Because there are other things that I might be interested in. Holy cow, look at this list. So if I'm interested in, let's say, I think there's a fade margin in here. Oh, that may be on another one. Let's say I'm interested in looking at, the color code. I left-click on the color code. Now, to get one of these items over, I hit this button up here. So that puts it down at the bottom. And then I can always, if I want to, I can move it up in the list or move it down. If I want all of these things to be displayed in the table, then what I do is I hit this double button, okay? And I'm always hitting that one by accident. It's crazy. So if you hit it by accident, just don't say OK, and then what you do is cancel and then try again. Right-click on that column, pick the one you're interested in, and then hit OK. If you want to start over, you can always hit a clear selection. So this, again, is powerful. It'll save you tons of time. So now we've got 5 megahertz. Let's look at the PMP links. Again, different story here. We're getting AP received level, SM received level, and I think that last night I added some stuff. Yeah, here we go. I was very interested in the fade margins that we were getting. I wanted to sort by fade margin. So my minimum fade margin here is 3.3 dB. Down here is 34.6. So the ones at the bottom here, from a subscriber perspective, are the good ones are down at the bottom of the list, and the ones that I might need to rework are the ones at the top. I can also support sort by fade margin at the access point. So I can do an inbound fade margin and an outbound fade margin as well. And again, sorting by name, incredibly handy if I'm trying to find something and I just can't find it. I can sort by name. What other options are available here? Here I have a ton of these things. Okay. So again, you can move these things over, and this will very quickly help you determine or help you do your analysis. So again, the PMP links is very powerful for helping you find things, number one, because you can sort on the columns, and then number two, you can change things dynamically for multiple items at a time. So let's say I want to change, I don't know, half these subscribers. I don't want them to be 450Bs. I want them to be mid gains instead of high gains. So I'm just going to shift-click them, right-click there, and say Edit Product. And oh look, I've got a pull-down menu. Now I can change these to mid gain. And I urge you, if it can be changed, it will let you change it. So there are lots of things you can do here. Let's just try and change the SM antenna for a couple. Edit SM antenna. Is it going to let me change that? No, because it's an integrated antenna. But some of these things, if you're curious, give them a try and see if it lets you edit those things. Because again, we have tried very hard, incredibly hard, to make this easy for you to use, and we've tried to help you solve time when using it. All right, next topic. The whole goal of LINKPlanner. I mean, LINKPlanner is a sales tool. Part of the sales process is telling you what equipment you need for your network. And we do that with the bill of materials. Now, sometimes you don't have time to plan the entire network, go in, and do all the gory details, the ins, the outs. So what you do is, what we give you is an option to go and estimate what the bill of materials would look like. And we can do this for point-to-point links, point-to-multipoint links, and also Wi-Fi. Let me just show you the Wi-Fi real quick. What you do is you start by left-clicking on Wi-Fi estimates, and you say New Configuration. And then you name this. This is similar to LINKPlanner, only we don't have, we can't plan Wi-Fi links, but this is a similar idea. Do I want indoor or outdoor? Well, let's look at outdoor. What antenna options do I have here? Let me just leave it in Omni. Actually, let me go with a narrow sector. There, so now I've got E502S. I select a country, whether or not I need a PoE injector, and then what it'll do is build a bill of materials. You can always go in here and edit these quantities if you need to, 10 or 100. We'll leave that in there. And now I have a bill of materials for E502S. Now, for the Wi-Fi, it's not so difficult. What about for point to multipoint? What if I want to do that? So let's build out this one. Again, start with new configuration. Let's build out a 450i network. And this is slightly different. So I'm going to do 5.8, 450i, United States. The antenna for the 450i, I'm going to leave this one alone. Yes, I want to leave that one alone. I wanted to get I'm not trying to be tricky here. I wanted to get the antenna with the default, the 90-degree sector, because I'm probably not, at this time, I'm not going to use the narrow. Anyway, here's where it gets interesting. I can select the number of subscriber modules varying by type, and it will go ahead and auto-populate the BOM for things that each of these products requires. So let me just select 5. I'm not going to do 450i, 450. Let's see. Okay, and then what if I have some connectorized units? Let's see. I'm going to go with just one of these. And then what it'll do, if you scroll down, is it will build both of the bill of materials. It'll build one for the access point, and it'll build one for the subscriber modules as well. Now, if you're familiar with how we build the bill of materials, there's this thing called New Extra. And this capability is also available. So when you're in the BOM estimator, the bill of materials estimator, you can add extras like you do when you're building point-to-multipoint links. So this is fairly straightforward. This will help you build a bill of materials very quickly. Oftentimes we get a question like, oh, hey, how much would this particular link cost? And it's like, oh man, I don't know. We've got to build out LINKPlanner. No, you can go in and if you want to, get an estimate as to how much like an 820S link would cost, you just go up here and select the band 820S. Notice this name up here is changing as I select the equipment, okay? And yeah, if I need 6-foot antennas, there's my bill of materials right there. And then what you can do is export that to a spreadsheet. And of course, you would never order these ODUs until you had your licenses, your frequencies. All right, next topic. Oh, here's something that's incredibly powerful that I just learned about within the last year. It is an awesome feature. So here's what happens. you're out in the field and you realize, oh man, we forgot to order that part, or something went wrong, and you're looking for a part number or a particular part in general. How do you find it if you don't have a price list? Well, you can go into LINKPlanner, and there's this feature called Search Part Numbers and Descriptions. And up here, you can type, it's kind of like keywords, like PTP 820S, and then you can expand it out, and it will give you a list of all of the things with PTP 820S in the description, or part number. I mean, it does a generic search. Now, you can sort this. Remember, we're trying to make it easy. So if you left click on description, that'll sort, and you can reverse the sort. What if I'm looking for surge suppressors? So I can search on the word surge. Oh, look at that. There they are. So these are all the surge suppressors that are available. And it's not restricted to point-to-point or point-to-multipoint. So you have to be careful. I mean, everything's there that has the word surge in it. Let's see if there's anything. No, there's nothing with the word lightning in it. Bolts. Oh, look, you can find bolts. Anyway, so this search is incredibly powerful. And this is looking through a parts list. Now remember, look at this caveat down here. Not all the parts are necessarily available. In fact, some of these you might find you can't order. So be very careful when you're using this. Definitely look in the notes field. If you can't order it, or if it's obsolete, it'll show up here, and it'll tell you, hey, you can't order this, or this part number is obsolete. And then it may give you a suggestion as to the newer part to try. The next question would be, well, why are those in there? Why do you list those? Well, remember, if a product becomes obsolete, we don't take it out of LINKPlanner, because we realize we have many customers who are using LINKPlanner for their existing networks. So we don't take it out of it. What we do is we retire products, and you can still plan those because people change their networks with the retired products. So we leave that in there. That's the reason why that might be in there. All right, next thing that's going to save you time is default regions. And let me show you what that is. It's under Tools, Options. And this can be, the first time I saw this, it was a little confusing to me until I figured it out. So let me show you how this works. This selects the default region for a given band that you are using. All right? So let's say that you are working in an EU country. When you build your licensed microwave links, or your point-to-multipoint links, chances are, if you're in an EU country, you don't want FCC or United States. That is not interesting to you. Just like you're going to go into units, and you're probably not going to use feet and miles. You're probably going to use meters and kilometers. So we give you an option every time you build a new link to select the region that you prefer for that given band. Now, fair warning, I live in the United States, and most of the links that I plan, not all, but most of the links that I plan and work on are in the United States. And so what you're going to see for me is most of these bands are going to say FCC. What happens here? I left click on the band, and then what I can do is sort this. Now let's say I was in an EU country. I want Etsy to be at the top. So you just put it at the top. Now whenever I build a lower 6 gig link, the first regulation that will show up will be Etsy and not FCC. And that, again, will save you a ton of time. If you're not using the equipment templates and you're building out your links, you want your regulations for your particular country to show up. Now, what if you're planning, what if you live in the EU, but you're planning a network somewhere else in the United States, let's say? Well, then what you'd want to do is use this feature to bring FCC and perhaps Canada up above Etsy as far as the choices that you make. All right, is there anything else in here? Notice that this applies not just to licensed point-to-point links, but it applies to all of the bands that we offer, including CN Reach and our point-to-multipoint products, some of the products that we offer to our federal customers, NTIA as well. So you can do this for all the products that we offer. Now notice some of them are not terribly interesting or helpful. 28 gig. Well, there's only one regulation available, so you probably won't use that if you're planning a network with just 28 gig. All right, next topic. Actually, I think we've gone through our entire list. So I'm going to ask Jody if we've got any questions, because that went by really quickly.
That was great, Dave. We do have one question in already, and I want to remind people, if you have questions, please go ahead and type them into the queue. Anything on LINKPlanner whatsoever that you've thought about, struggling with, or just need advice on. The first one, Dave, comes in: are equipment templates tied to particular projects, or are they just to LINKPlanner in general?
Ah, excellent, excellent question. So when you go up and start your first project, you're going to say new project. You're going to build an equipment template, all right? So let's just build one. Sorry for the long answer. Let's just call this, and there is one topic I forgot. I can't believe I forgot it because it's my favorite time-saving feature. I'm going to cover that right after this equipment template. So let's just call this, let's give it a name so I know what it looks like. All right. Now watch this. What do I have here? What am I looking at? I have two projects. I have one called Untitled 2, and I have one called Untitled 1. Okay? What if I've just spent a lot of time creating these equipment templates in this project, and I want to use them in the other project? Oh, what am I going to do? Well, let's see. I'm going to right-click on this template, and it's supposed to give me that copy option. There we go. Right-click over here, say Copy. Go over to the project, Untitled, that doesn't have it, and then, oh, you know what, just to confirm, just so that there's no trickery, there's no man behind the curtain. Okay, you see there's no, oh, not format. There, see there's no well, there is one template, but I'm going to give it a new one. So I'm going to left click there. I don't have to click here, but I'm going to paste it in here and then show you. Oh, there it is. So the answer to your question is the templates are created and saved in a particular project, but you can always copy them from one project to another, which again will save you time. You don't have to rebuild them, because that wouldn't save you time if you had to rebuild them every time. Now, there is one thing I forgot, and it's my absolute favorite feature to save time. So the reason why I like this particular feature is people send me LINKPlanner, or they used to. People used to send me LINKPlanner files to review on a daily basis. So I would get 4 or 5 LINKPlanner projects a day, and they would say, "Can you please review this?" And it got to be very difficult because you're doing similar things. You've got to look at a lot of different things, and it was just taking too much time. So what I did was I used this feature called link formatting. And what that allows you to do is create rules, and then it will paint the links based on particular rules that you've created. So let me just show you a project. This one doesn't have any point-to-point links in it yet. So let me try and save some time and pick up a project that does have. So you can see this particular project. Holy cow, look at that. They're beautiful colors. Look, orange. My favorite color is missing here. My favorite color, periwinkle, is not in here. How did I do that? Well, I have some link formatting rules in here that will paint the link. Now, why is this useful again? Because when you get a new LINKPlanner file, you have no idea what you're getting yourself into. You have no idea what the links are. And if you paint all of the links that are 6 gig, if you paint them orange, and if you paint all of the links that are 11 gig, periwinkle. There it is, my favorite color. And then go in and what you do is you copy these rules into the new project, and then all of a sudden when you hit the map, you look at it and instantaneously oh, okay, this network is composed of 6 gig links, or look, there's an 11 gig link. Now, more than likely what's going to happen is when you build up these rules, see, I've built up some other rules. I want to know, do I have category A antennas? And there I've got it disabled, so I can just enable it by right-clicking on it. I'm very interested in whether or not a link is line of sight or non-line of sight. And so I've got these rules here. I want to know if a link is clearing the worst earth curvature. I also want to know if a link is 5/9 two-way availability. So I've built up all these rules. Now, how do I do that? Let me just show you the 5/9 rule. So what you've got to do is name it, and then you have a bunch of parameters that you can test on. So I could test on the band. That's how I do that color. You can test on the two-way availability, capacity. So you could have the formatting rule show you, hey, show me all the links that are less than 100 megabits per second or less than 50 megabits per second. Show me all the links that have E1, T1, for example. And then as you're building the rule, you can see whether or not your rule is actually working. The links that meet the criteria and will be painted, whatever color you choose, will show up in this list right here. So that's very helpful, because sometimes you'll create a rule and it just doesn't work and you get really frustrated. Well, take a look down here. That may explain why you're not, why the rule is not working. You can hide links based on these formatting rules. You can exclude links from any reports or exports that you do. Here's your color options. You can change the line thickness and then also the line style. So if you're in the habit, and I realize not many people do this. For me, it was incredibly powerful. I realize you may not think it's all that great. But if you're in the habit of reviewing people's LINKPlanner files, real quickly to find some things that might be potentially, gotchas, this is a very powerful tool indeed. So next question.
Thanks, Dave. I actually love color, so I'm all for the painting. The next one is, can LINKPlanner use custom digital elevation models?
Custom digital elevation models.
That question's from Ian.
Not today. Not today. But let me show you what it can do. And don't cringe as I show this to you. What we can do is import paths from path loss. So path loss is another modeling tool. And if you've built up, if you have, let's say you've purchased some data, okay, and why would you purchase the data? You'd purchase the data because it might be more accurate, it might be newer, it might include specific buildings, for example, that were built after the SRTM data was collected. So what you would do is use path loss, create the link in path loss or the profile in path loss, and then you could import it. And believe it or not, it's a spreadsheet import that is very similar to this import sites that I showed you early on in the call. So sorry, at this point in time, we don't offer any other sort of importing of a digital elevation model per se. Now, one other thing, you can always go in, you can always go in, and I know this isn't going to save you a lot of time, but you can always go into a link and edit the profile and add obstructions. So how do you do that? You just go to the profile here, you right click, edit profile, and then that will allow you to add obstructions. So if, say, a building has been built since the data was collected, you can add that in. Where is it putting it? There it is, putting the building right there. Next question.
That actually is perfectly in the next question. What if I have a 10-meter obstacle floor throughout my entire site? Do I have, or should I hire a project? Do I need to put it in site by site, or is there a way to do it for the whole project?
10-meter floor. I'm not sure what 10-meter floor means.
I think it means, it's from Eduardo, I think it means like an obstacle. You're assuming throughout your entire project you have a 10-kilometer or 10-meter floor.
Okay. So if I have trees or obstacles along the entire path, for all my links, unfortunately, I'm going to have to edit that link by link. And again, you would do it. Now, you have the shift click option, so I can put in, I'll put in 10 feet, but you can use meters if you like. It's just a matter of shift clicking the entire profile and then entering it in, hitting return, and then it'll put, 10 meters, 10 feet, whatever across the entire profile. How do I know that? Oh, see this? Let me show you. I can stretch this, and then you can see it. Yeah, see, there's a green line along here that shows you the. And wow, that that's a really tall building. Oh, that explains it. It's the Sears Tower. Normally this would be. Let me reduce that a little bit. Now you can see that I've added obstacles along, and it's this green one here. But can I do it project wide? No, I've got to do it link by link wide. Now, there's another question you might ask, and that is, what if I need to change the height of all my subscriber sites? What if I don't like 33 feet? Well, then I can go in, look at my subscriber sites, and again, I believe I can just change this on the fly. Oh, you know what? This is maximum height. So what I have to do is go into PMP links, and somewhere in here there is a subscriber module height. Here we go. So be careful. You don't want to change the maximum height. You want to change the actual subscriber module height. So let me just change that to 66. So I'm going to shift click, right click here, and say edit SM height, and then just enter it in. Let's make it 66 feet. And then it'll change it for all. Now, if you have a big network, sometimes this can take time. So just be patient and wait for it. All right, next question.
Sure. Can we do best server analysis based on RSRP, and can we run interference analysis for PTP and PTM?
All right. Best server analysis. Best server analysis is based on subscriber module RSL. Now, I tell you what, I need to ask that question and see if we have the capability. What if you wanted to look at, for example, inbound? Instead, I mean, this is what I would call outbound. In other words, access point to subscriber module power. What if I wanted to maximize the inbound power? I wanted, I were inbound limited, and I wanted to have all of the inbound RSLs be maximized. I know there's a way to do that. It's a little tricky. So I tell you what, let me take that question offline, and I will put something in a forum on that. Now, what was the last part of that question? Because there was something else.
Can you run interference analysis for PTP and PTM?
Not today. This is another thing that would be very helpful, and that is entering in an interference, well, determining self-interference, and then also adding interferers into the network. However, you can go in, and I think people know this in general, but let me just remind you, you can go in to individual links and add interference, but that's not really what the questioner is asking. You can check the interference box and then enter an interference value. Now, all is not lost. You can still go to PTP links, right-click here, and then look for the interference. It should be left and right interference. So these are sorted left and right. So it's just a matter of finding it. Anyway, I don't want to take up time, but you can find left and right interference, and then you can add interference to your entire network quite easily using the PTP links. That's not quite what we're asking here, though. What you want to do is add some interference in, and then show the links that are problematic, so that you can go in and either change the frequency, change the power levels, change the antenna heights to avoid that interference. And unfortunately, today, we don't have that capability. Sorry.
That's okay. Always room for the next thing, right?
Yes.
Next question we have is, how about custom antennas or antennas other than those already listed?
Oh, custom antennas. Are we paying someone to ask those questions? All right, so custom antennas. Let me show you how to do this. Now, here's a question that always comes up. Okay, so let me just answer the question. Yes, we support custom antennas. You can add custom antennas to your heart's desire, unless you want to add in a licensed antenna. Oh, and this drives people crazy. Why can't I add a custom licensed antenna? Well, here's why. We give you the capability to build a link with a remote mount that has very specific waveguide interfaces to get you from the ODU to the antenna. And so those remote mount interfaces, and also the direct mount interfaces for that matter, are standardized. And so if we allow you to go in and build a custom antenna, we've got to allow you to specify the waveguide interfaces. And oh wow, what if you choose a waveguide interface that's not supported? We've got to figure out how to get you from one waveguide interface to another. That particular problem happens so infrequently, and it's a difficult problem to solve that we have just decided not to implement it. So in order to not get people in trouble, because here's what we don't want people to do. We don't want people to go off and, you know, they've found this antenna, you know, that they want to reuse, and maybe the standard isn't, you know, hasn't been, you know, maybe they no longer make antennas with that particular waveguide interface or what have you. We don't want people to get in trouble. And so for licensed antennas, we do not allow you to make your own custom antenna. But for the unlicensed antennas, we allow you to do that. And another reason why we wouldn't want you to use a custom antenna is that we have no way of telling whether or not it's been type accepted. Since it's a licensed link, it's got very specific requirements, and we don't want you to get yourself in trouble with that. Let me just show you how to build your own antenna, custom antenna. So if you go into project configuration in any project, and you left-click on PTP antennas, this will give you an incredibly long list of all the antennas that we have. And it's like, oh, holy cow. Well, remember, you can sort, okay? Now, look at this. When we sort by manufacturer, you can see we put Cambium Networks antennas at the top. They don't always have to be at the top. You can sort by size, description, not terribly useful, part number, not terribly useful, but you can still do it if you're trying to find something. What's useful? If you scroll over here, this is something I learned recently. If you scroll over here, oh, look at that. They show you which antennas support, or actually what the gains are at the individual bands. So in all likelihood, let's say you're doing a 5/8 antenna. You don't care about all these other antennas that aren't 5/8. So sort on 5/8, get them to the top, and this will show you, if you're looking at this column right here, this will show you all the antennas that are supported in 5/8, and that'll give you a starting point for building your custom antenna. Now, what if you know all these things already? All right, just hit new antenna. Now, manufacturer. So let's call it Dave and Jody's Antenna Shop. Let's make it really odd. Let's make it a 5-foot antenna. You'd never see that. Obviously, you'd want to be very careful when you're doing the description here and putting in the manufacturer so that you can find it at a later date. And then give it a part number, and then determine whether or not it's single pole or dual pole. And then what it's going to ask you for is at least one band has to have a gain. We're going to make this a 5.8 antenna. Make it big. This is an incredibly unrealistic antenna, but there it is. And then it'll show up at the top here. And then when you're planning a link, oh, let's see. When you're planning a link, that will show up. Now, do I have any sites in here? I don't think I do. Let me go over here. Let me go over to it. This is a project that's got one. Can I copy and paste it? Oh, look at that. I'm right-clicking on this, and I'm not seeing copy and paste. So it looks like what I may have to do, unfortunately, is rebuild it in my other project. There's a request for enhancement right there. So PTP antennas, New antenna. Five feet. Dual band. So there's my antenna. So now I'm going to go over to this link here, and it's a 5/8 antenna, so I have to be in the 5/8 band for it to show up. So there's my 5/8 link, and it should, I'm going to sort here. There it is. So there's my custom antenna right there. And of course it'll say, hey, I'm not approved. Now, why is it saying IC? Because I had Canada here, so let me just put it into United States, and it'll say it's not FCC approved, because we don't know. We don't know what it is. It's a custom antenna. So hopefully that answers the question about custom antennas. And we learned that you can't copy them from project to project, which I will ask it out.
Fantastic. And we have one last question, which will take us to the top of the hour. When you're importing, like we talked before, the digital elevation mode, you're importing anything. Does the path loss file, does it take into consideration the terrain from the path loss, or does it still use the LINKPlanner terrain?
Oh, no, the whole idea. Yeah, sorry. Sorry, I wasn't clear. When you import this, let me get to the option. I'll start talking again. When you import the terrain data from path loss, it's gonna overwrite. All right. So if you've entered obstacles, obstructions in there, it's going to use everything from the path loss file. So if the path loss file has obstructions, it's going to put them in there. And you're not going to use what LINKPlanner used, which was SRTM data. So I mean, make sure that the data you're using is good, because you could potentially overwrite your link. I mean, you can always rebuild it with a new project and then copy that link over. What you may want to do is send us this question through the email or through the forum, and if you've got more specific, if you've got more specific examples, you could send us the file, and we could take a look at it. We respect your privacy, so we're not going to share your projects or anything like that with anybody else. So just be aware of that.
Fantastic. Thanks, Dave. So I want to thank everybody for participating in today's webinar and for the great questions. If you have more questions, like Dave said, please use the email, please use the forum. We're here to help you and help you be successful as you go out and sell to your customers. That's what we're here for. So thank you again for attending. And Dave, thank you for presenting. Have a great rest of your day.